And, for obvious reasons, important reasons. But when Crystal had asked me to do the last section of this, what we had been talking about with belonging, it just makes the most sense that it has to do with the poor and understanding where the poor and the needy belong in the midst of this belonging that we need to experience in the church. So I was like, oh yeah, I think I can talk about that. That's fine. So I could talk about it all day, but I won't. But I feel very passionate about this. And it's been on my, I just love taking care of people. I always have. It's not been an effort for me. And so I just pray that you would just gain God's heart in this, because it truly is his heart to take care of the poor. And it truly is his heart to care for every single person on earth, and not just the ones in our specific culture, our specific town, our specific country, or social class, but it's everybody, even the ones that we would rather forget about. So,
good word.
All that to say,
Amen.
It's also cool that Crystal started with the story of the Samaritan woman, and I didn't think about this, but Carla had shared that, and I'm ending with the only other Samaritan talked about in the New Testament. So I feel like God's on that, because the Samaritans were the people that the Jews hated. Gentiles didn't like them either. Like, nobody liked the Samaritans, and yet God highlights them twice in the New Testament when Jesus shouldn't have even been dealing with them before until after he had passed away and rose back to life. But he's like, well, they're really important, so I'm going to talk about them. So I just love how he keeps bringing them up.
Amen.
So I'm going to start with just a few thoughts that I really liked that Bill and Chris from the church in California that we've been talking about, the Bethel Church in California, had shared. And last week, Bill had talked about their continued focus on the city, and so it was perfect because that's what we focus on. This church wholly focuses on the city, are passionate about this city and this Ohio Valley, and know that God can come through.
Amen.
And it's not too much to think that he can't.
Amen.
And so I love this quote. Bill was talking about that we are called to shape things from the inside. So doing this through serving society or the community. The whole concept of ministry used to be putting people under pressure to get someone saved instead of trying to serve them at their place of need. Not to say that getting people saved isn't important, but when we start viewing people as projects as opposed to people, and everyone wants to be loved and cared for, but nobody wants to be a project.
Oh, come on. That's so good.
We need to keep that in mind, because that's always something that can come about, like, well, but what about this, and this? Well, if you love people, those other things will get themselves worked out. And God will get someone's soul worked out if you can physically get some stuff worked out in their life first, where their soul can be managed.
It's good.
Like we've been talking about, we all have an incredible need to belong, and this binds all people together. When in Matthew 26:11, I love this. It's when Jesus says, "You're always going to have the poor with you." And I always kind of had a hard time with that, because I'm like, well, yeah, but it almost seemed like he was downplaying that. And then Chris Valentin talked about, he had heard a whole sermon on that scripture being, as opposed to, you'll always have the poor with you. In the original Greek, it says more of something like this: you should always have the poor with you.
Oh, wow. That's good.
So that changes everything about that.
Amen. It does.
So I want you to think about these things. The homeless are no less citizens of our city. Society doesn't get to pick and choose who our citizens are.
Right.
Just like we can't, as our body, we can't pick out which parts that we have. We have all these parts. They don't change. Apparently they can be altered today in age, but these are the parts we're supposed to have. And I digress. But, so we can't drive any people that we don't like out of the land. It doesn't work like that. Cities, I'm not going to name the cities, but there are cities in the United States who do try to get the homeless on the outskirts of the city so it can be nicer looking and prettier and look cleaned up. But I would like you to think about that prosperity without taking care of people is not the Lord's will. And I personally don't think God can keep prospering those things if all of his people, even the ones that are the crazy ones, aren't taken care of. Because everyone has crazy people in their family.
Amen.
And we all have people in the family that we're like, I don't know about that one. Well, you can't get a divorce from somebody who's your blood. I mean, again, it's been tried in today's society, but you can't, it's blood. You're not going to be, you can't do that. It's impossible. You might disown them, but at the end of the day, it doesn't change the fact that they're still your family.
It's a good word.
And I could go on and on about that, but that goes for not just homeless, but that can go with people in our church and in every part of our life at our work, however you want to look at it to be least offended. That if you don't like somebody, well, it doesn't actually matter because they're still children of God and they're still in the family. So I'm sorry, you've actually been bought by the same blood and you can't change them.
Good word.
A couple weeks ago, after Vicki had taught, actually, I was leaving church. I helped take care of this guy who used to come for breakfast. His name was Richard. But I was stopping. I needed to get Richard some stuff. So I stopped at Dollar General up here on 7th Street. And if you've ever been there, it's a zoo all the time. But at this particular Sunday, it was around 1 o'clock. It was an intense zoo. So a police car had just left, and I was like, well, I mean, I'll stop anyway, you know. So I get there, I go in, and I notice all the people who work there are outside taking a smoke break, and there's nobody in the store. So I don't know, but it's Dollar General on 7th Street, so I don't know. So I just get my stuff, and I'm waiting in line now, and I'm noticing that there's this very scantily clad woman outside on the sidewalk, and they're talking to her. And when I mean I can handle a lot, but it was there was nothing, no secrets here. And it's 1 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon. What is going on? One of the workers comes back in to start checking me out, and there's a line by this point, halfway in the store. And so I was like, do you know her? I mean, just started a conversation with this worker, and she's like, no, she's just a disgusting 7th Street hooker. And I was like, oh God. Because this woman's outside, obviously coming down off something, really out of it. She had come in the store looking for a purse or something that she thought she left there. The police had already been called, but then I don't know why the police just came and left. But regardless, the woman's still there. And there's all these people looking at her like she's just yesterday's trash and worth nothing, and that there's no, just, as I'm sure many of us have before. So, this woman was checking me out, and I'm watching this, and then this girl couldn't have been, I don't know, maybe 25 or something. She gets up and makes a beeline for this truck that pulled up. And so I'm watching this, I'm like, oh no. So I leave, and I go outside, and there's a line. But I'm like, I can't let this girl get in this truck, and I just can't do it, and nobody else is going to do anything, and so I'm going to deal with it. And so I walk outside, run to this Jeep, this truck, and just start talking to this girl who I have never met before. I thought maybe I had, but I hadn't. And I was like, hey, you don't need to get in the truck, it's fine. I can take you wherever you need to go, whatever. Long story short, this man was the one who, she's like very proud of the fact that she's a prostitute. She works here. This is the guy that has employed her for the last 8 years. It's fine, like she's safe, don't worry about it. And so, number one, wanted to kill the guy. So I'm like, I'm going to punch this guy in the face if I keep standing here.
That's my girl.
But here's the thing. Normal looking guy, older man, just a very everyday situation of, she's like, yeah, I worked for him for 9 years. He's like, actually it's been 8, like very aware and understanding everything that's going on. And here's the issue here actually is, if there wasn't a need for this, he wouldn't have a job. Right. So it's a bigger issue that is actually our problem in the city.
Come on.
There's still people who keep them employed, and that's why they're still having jobs. And this woman is still working there after 8 years of doing this.
That's so good.
So anyway, go back inside, get my stuff. Well, then apparently we're like new friends. So then she comes in. So I leave like, I don't know, 30 minutes later after set this woman down, talk to her. She doesn't want any help at this point, but the point is, that's our city, and that is actually, it was my problem.
Yeah.
Amen.
Because that woman is, number one, in need of help, has no idea her worth, has no idea, coming off of whatever, and wearing nothing on 7th Street, and nobody's helping her. Right. I mean, people were actually looking at her in complete disgust, and they want to pass on the other side so they don't have to, get around scum like her. So, but knowing this, we're perpetuating the problem by just walking by and not doing anything about it.
That's so good, Ash.
So I gave her my phone number.
Of course you did.
Again, God puts those crazy people in our family too, and we can't change it.
That's right.
Sorry about that.
That's right.
This is our land, and it's our city.
That's right.
So when there's somebody hurting, when there's somebody lost, when there's someone affected by a trauma, we are all affected, and it hurts all of us.
That's so good. Wow.
They talked a lot about in their service in California about what they've been doing within the city and how different cities are known for what they do. And so one thing I thought was really cool was Chris had talked about in the Old Testament where the cities were known by Judah, which is praise, or by different parts of the country were known by what they represented. And so they were think about how beautiful it would be if Bethel, the place of worship, if that's what this whole place would be known as, because we so affect heaven by what we're doing, people start being drawn to the place because of the house of worship that we are representing here.
Amen. Amen.
The world would be a changed place if every Christian attended to the sorrows that are plain before them.
Ooh, that's good.
That's so good.
So therefore, that puts it that everyone's responsible for something then.
Amen.
Katie, I actually thought about the story you had told in prayer about just this little girl coming to your heart, and you were just faithful to pray for her, and then realized afterward that God really had brought her to your mind and was helping and dealing with this little girl. And it's just the same thing. If every person here would just deal with whatever was put in front of them and make it your problem and not just throw it off on somebody else, then the city really would be changed.
Come on.
I want you to think about that. Boldness is just one step beyond convenience. That's it. It's just taking that one step. Like, well, I could. It would be more convenient for me to just check out and go about my time because I have a lot to do today. But there's actually this woman who really needs a lot of help right now, and I'm going to stop and do that.
Yep. Good word.
I want to talk a little about. I'll eventually get into an actual story in the Bible, so it makes it like valid and such. But I want to talk a little bit how the outreach program that we have here started, because I feel like it's a picture of what can happen when people just see what's in front of them and just handle those things very much right in front of you. So our breakfast program used to be called Joseph Storehouse in the church that was previous to this ministry. It's been around since 2003, and it literally started by just a large family in the church had like a lot of kids, and they would bring breakfast to the kids. But we always had homeless people. We were always downtown, so we always had homeless people come in and they were sitting around like to listen to the music, but were hungry on Sunday mornings. So this family just started bringing a couple extra breakfast sandwiches from McDonald's for them, and just saw the need in front of them, started doing that, and then more started coming, and then there's some more, and then some more. And so went to a couple area businesses and explained like, hey, we're thinking about, we feed a lot of people for breakfast on Sunday mornings, homeless in the area. And this was before there was a lot of homeless outreach type things going on in the city. There's Friendship Kitchen, but they were like the biggest ministry around that did homeless stuff. This was before like House to Home was around, so it was pretty much Salvation Army, Friendship Kitchen, and that was about it. The Mountaineer and Golden Corral started giving us breakfast once a month, and that's how it started. We had a little cabinet, or a little like walk-in closet thing full of canned food, and we had a clothes closet underneath of stairs. So that was it. And our first Thanksgiving dinner was in 2004, whenever I had a class in college that we needed extra credit. And all of these people, I was very much praying that they'd get saved. And I'm like, well, we feed a lot of homeless in my church, so you guys should come and we'll make food, and then for Thanksgiving, we can all get 12 hours of extra credit, and you guys can help me put on this dinner. And thereby was birthed our holiday feasts and dinners that we now have.
Wow.
And so it's just literally, once again, has nothing to do with me. It has just, here's a need. There's all these people who want to help, who just don't really know how to get involved. Let's do that then.
That's so good.
We started a visitation program in 2006 to where we would go out when people would come in for breakfast on Sundays, we'd get their addresses, and then we'd visit them on Saturdays and just make friends with them and come to understand where they're coming from. And most of them didn't stay for service, so we were the only type of service that they ever had, and they didn't have any life coming into them, and a lot of them would maybe come once but not come again. So it was before people really talked about, oh, let's just go on the street and let's do this and do that. We were like, well, we should just probably, we'll just try this out. So, I don't know, just a couple kids going out to these places that probably weren't the best. People answering the doors with knives and having drugs out and having this and having that, but they loved us because they felt that they belonged. And that's really what it came down to. That nobody else was paying attention to them, and nobody else was trying to reach them or even cared about them. And then we actually attended to their needs. Well, what do you need prayer for? What do you need us to do? Do you need your laundry done? Do you need a drive somewhere? Do you need to get to an appointment? Can we help you fill out an application? It was very simple things, but it was changing people's lives. I remember when we moved into this building in 2009, we had the first large-scale dinner outside in the Dill Center, and I remember thinking, well, I've never really had anything this big before. So, our other building was really small, so 100 people was really saying something. But then we go in the Dill Center, and it's like this huge building, and I'm thinking, we can have a lot of people here. So I really advertised it. I was like 24, 25 years old, and just still had no idea what I was doing. We're just going to do this, and there's people going to come, so we had a lot of food, and let's just see if people come. So internally, you're like, what if people don't come? They're not going to come. So I remember going to the front doors on that Saturday, and it was like 2 hours before, and looking out the doors, and just see so many people that I couldn't count. And I was just like, God, I'm 24 years old. What do I do? How do I don't know what to, and it was just dumbfounding to me that God would entrust me with so many people when I had no idea what I was doing. But He did.
That's right.
And that's all that really matters. Because
Right.
you'll always find if you choose to step out in that boldness, that's one step beyond convenience, most of the time you're going to find yourself overwhelmed. But that's when He kicks into the mix of it. Because if every time you just do things and it's convenient and it's easy, you can do it completely in your own strength, and you're never going to tap into the potential that's inside of you for God to work a miracle.
It's a good word.
My favorite story that I have is there was a man named Paul, and you can put that first picture up. This is my buddy Paul. We had known him since the beginning of the ministry, so probably since around 2001 we knew him. He would come faithfully. We loved him. When we had moved into our new building, and he was always so faithful to come. We would visit him all the time, and he, more than anything, he wanted to learn how to play the drums. So he'd come early on Wednesday nights, and one of the guys there would teach him how to play drums.
Aww.
And it just made his whole life. And he just felt so special, and that he belonged so much. And I started driving him back home, and he lived in a really bad situation with people who took advantage of him, had for years. And so he started giving me his money to hold for him to be safe. So every month we'd go, and he'd cash his check, and then I'd keep his money. And at this point, he was like 79 years old at this point. And so to this day, I don't know how he kept with it. He never wore a watch. I have no idea how he understood what time it was or what day of the week it was to be able to always remember to be outside to meet me at the time he told me. But it always never failed. He somehow was always there, ready, and I would just pick him up and take him wherever he needed to go. One Sunday, he he didn't show up, or I can't remember exactly, but he didn't come at his normal time. So one of our guys went to pick him up. Well, picked him up, he got to church and realized that I was like, he was so, literally looked like death. So, took him to the hospital, and long story short, he almost died at that point. He was very close to like, the deplorable conditions he lived in for so long, like, took a real damper on his health. And so he had severe arthritis. He was his diet was horrible. He had bug bites all over him. Like, there was just a lot going on. So while he was in the hospital, got him over the hump. And that time when we picked him up from his house was the last time he was ever there. While he was in the hospital, he signed over, and I became his medical power of attorney. Got him into a place that took care of him for the remaining 4 years of his life. He lived 4 more years when he shouldn't have lived a day longer.
Hallelujah.
It was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen, because he had never had a real family his whole life. He was never married, had never had kids. Very much of a nomad a lot of his life. And to watch somebody who had always had to fend for themselves, always had to be aware of what was going on, go into a place, first of all, to trust someone enough to sign over their life, pretty much, and understanding enough to do it. Giving me all of his money, all this stuff. And at that time, I was like 22 years old. That's not, I don't know. But he was in front of me. And what you can either answer that call, or in this situation, it was literally life or death. And I wasn't going to let him die, and God didn't want him to die either. So, there we go.
So good.
But watching him change from an orphan mindset into what he, like, understanding, I don't have to hide food anymore. And I don't have to, every time I would go in on a daily basis, I'd have to search through all of his belongings and take out all the food that he had hidden because he was afraid there wasn't going to be enough. Or, like, just crazy stuff that he would do because he was so used to fending for himself. So then, as the years passed, you can show the other picture. This was his birthday, like a year or two later. He would come over, and my family, we would have him come over for Christmas and for Thanksgiving. And his birthday was right after Christmas, so we'd always celebrate his birthday. And so he went from not having anything to, for the last 4 or 5 years of his life, having family, having purpose, and understanding the love of God like he hadn't his previous 80 years of life. But it really is all just because I just chose, this can't be a convenient thing. It's not always convenient to have this guy in this nursing home, and they're calling you on sometimes a daily basis saying, he just did this, can you please come and deal with this? Or somebody just came in and left a knife to give him, so that he would then bust himself out in a wheelchair. I don't know how that's possible, but... So, a couple weeks before he passed away, I came in to visit him, and he said that he'd seen Jesus, and Jesus told him he was going to go home. So I don't know who learned more in that situation, Paul or me, but I sure did love him. And I'm so glad I said yes and didn't just let him be one of the ones that we see on the street and don't think. Because it would have been easier. And he wasn't always the nicest. But he loved me, and I know that.
Amen. Love it. Amen.
So listen, we can't just always just pray about things and never do anything about it.
Amen.
There has to be action behind the prayer, or it's not going to be as effective. A great community adopts their less fortunate and takes ownership of their citizens and embraces them as valuable human beings. The greatest measure of a community is how they treat powerless people who have no recourse.
Amen.
Nobility is tested by the way you treat someone who can do nothing as a result from it.
Amen. Amen.
Gentiles are the ones who give so they can receive. We don't want to be like that.
Amen.
Quickly, I just wanted to just briefly talk about the story of the parable of the Good Samaritan because it's so good, and I will make it quicker. But in Luke 10:25, says, and behold, a certain lawyer stood up and tested Jesus. And let me note that before this was when Jesus had sent the 70 out to go into different cities all around and proclaim the good news. Then they came back in, and they're like, oh my gosh, this really worked. We just saw this, and this, and they're all just having a high on life because, oh, this is actually real. So then there's this lawyer in the midst of this, and he says, Teacher, what shall I do to inherit eternal life? Jesus said to him, what is written in the law? What is your reading of it? So he answered and said, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. And he said to him, you have answered rightly. Do this, and you will live. But the next part's what I want to focus on. And then the lawyer, wanting to justify himself, said to Jesus, who is my neighbor? Now I want you to think about it in terms of these 70 had just come back from being all over the place, all over the region. We don't know if it was just that region or even another country and came back. So they had just reached a whole lot of people. And this guy's saying, but who is my neighbor? And so basically he was saying, well, who am I bound to love? Because I can get these things, like I can love the Lord and I can do this, and this, but where's the line with this one of loving your neighbor? Because there has to be a line, and he wants to know the line so he can do the least amount that he needs to get by. Wow. Basically what this question's asking. The lawyer's question suggested that there must be some to whom the obligation to love does not apply, thus seeking to set a limit on his duty to love. And it's also emphasizing the worthiness of the object of the love rather than just love.
Wow.
So let's start with the next part. Then Jesus answered and said, a certain man went down from Jerusalem to Jericho and fell among thieves, who stripped him of his clothing, wounded him, and departed, leaving him half dead. Now by chance a certain priest came down that road, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. Okay. So here's the story. A certain man goes down the road. Doesn't name what the man was, and that's important. Don't know what nationality he was, but it's presumed that because he was coming from Jericho, that he was a Jew. So he was the national people, the people that were widely accepted, and that priests should help, because they were Jews. So Jericho was a priestly city at that time, so it's thought that no less than 12,000 priests went down that road back and forth. 12,000. Okay? This priest sees this guy laying in a pool of blood on the side of the road, and goes around him, but completely goes, some commentaries say where it said, he literally left the road and went into a ravine so as not to have to see him at all and deal with it. So this could be from trouble or this peril of meddling, and maybe those same people are going to attack me, or it could be because they're fearing that this man could be already dead and priests aren't supposed to touch dead people. But no matter what, he didn't stop, and he kept going. So then the next person, likewise a Levite, when he arrived at the place, he came and looked, and then he passed by on the other side. So this next guy, who also, the Levites were kind of like the priests, they came and went. And so it said, with those 12,000 priests, Levites often came and went as well, and they were very spiritual people, and it's like, well, this road was going back and forth basically to church. So on their way home from church one day, this guy sees this guy in a pool of blood, stops and looks, and then leaves anyway. So he's represented as better and worse than the priest, because he doesn't altogether just turn aside and not even look, but he looks, decides the situation's too much for him, doesn't want to deal with it, and leaves. But then a certain Samaritan, as he journeyed, came where he was. And when he saw him, he has compassion. So he went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine, and he set him on his own animal, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. On the next day, when he departed, he took out 2 denarii, gave them to the innkeeper, and said to him, "Take care of him, and whatever more you spend, when I come again, I will repay you." Every detail of this is elaborate to the point of it's actually beautiful to see what this Samaritan stopped and did for him, because he went a step above. He didn't just go and get some help. He physically had supplies with him to bind up all of this guy's wounds. He put him on his own horse in this state. So think about, it's like his car. And this guy has blood all over him, and who knows what else is happening. And he dirties himself to get down in the midst and help this guy out, and then puts him on his horse, thereby, getting all of his stuff, all of his comfort, deserving it all. And takes him himself and he himself walks the rest of the way. Who knows how long it was to get to the inn and a safe place for this guy. Then he stays the night, and then he leaves the next day, and he leaves so much money that is something that would enough money to feed 25 or 26 men. It was a lot of money.
Wow.
And in turn said, and actually, if this isn't enough, I'm going to come back and I'll give you more money. You just better take care of him well.
Wow, so good.
And the most important detail of the story to realize is that the one person who stopped was a Samaritan. And Samaritans and Jews hated each other. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It was thousands of years of hatred that stemmed from Jacob's children. It was a very deep, long-standing family feud hatred that they didn't. And even Jesus, when talking about the Samaritans, basically told this is not time to deal with them yet. But then he makes all of these, actually, they're the ones who are doing it the right way. And these Jews should be doing it the right way. But I'm going to pay attention to them because they're the ones who are choosing the right path.
Oh, God. Ah.
This was good too. The various acts that he did for this guy was just the very essence of true love. And he not only had all of the stuff with him and was completely adequately prepared to deal with everything, but he also was almost like he was wise as a serpent but harmless as a dove, because when he left that inn, he was kind of in a way saying, hey, I'm going to come back here, and if I hear that you mistreated him, or if you just spent this money on something else, you're going to get in trouble, because he was almost going to audit the accounts by saying, and if you need more money when I come back, I'll give it to you, but you're going to have to show me what you spent this money on. And so he had everything he needed to correctly take care of this guy. And we have everything we need on the inside of us to take care of the ones that have been set in front of us.
Wow, that's so good.
And at the end of the story, Jesus says, so which of these three do you think was neighbor to him who fell among the thieves? And he said, the lawyer said, he who showed mercy on him. And then Jesus said to him, you go now and do likewise. The lawyer couldn't even say the Samaritan's name. It was that hated. He couldn't even acknowledge that, oh, you've actually just completely got me, and here it is. So there's different commentaries that talk about how Jesus was basically slapping these people in the face again, saying, you don't get it. The Samaritan and the Jew hate each other. They are the least in all of the world, and let's bring it to today's fact. It would be like somebody from the United States being hurt and someone from a Muslim country helping us. That's what it would be like. That really brings it to a point of, oh, we're supposed to love them.
Wow.
And that's what Jesus was saying. And that's why so many people hated him. Because he didn't mince words. And he was saying, no, you don't just, there's no line here. There's actually, you will love everyone on earth as your neighbor. And there's not one person that is not under that umbrella of a neighbor. The last part of what I just want to quickly close with is, okay, so then what does it look like for us to have that boldness just one step beyond what's convenient for us? And one thing that they had really talked about in their teaching was that cities need trustworthy shepherds to lead the people well. Broken people need to be in the presence of healthy people to get the needs of their souls met and to have a chance of improving their condition. And that's through relationship, a sense of belonging. If they have never seen what health looks like in their life, they're not going to be healthy because they don't know how. If someone has had mental health issues all of their life and they've never seen a normal functioning person because all of those normal functioning people are blowing them off and not wanting to have anything to do with them, how is that person's soul ever supposed to be taken care of enough for a change to happen?
That's so good, Ash.
So think about that the same symptom of homelessness has many different causes. And so you can't just look at somebody with disdain and say, well, they obviously made their own choice, and sorry for them, because you have no idea the history behind each person. You have no idea.
Amen.
So with the right kind of help, a large percentage of people, homeless, poor, drug addicts, alcoholics, whatever, they're capable of reestablishing themselves as healthy members of society who belong.
Amen.
And it's all about connection.
Amen.
And I know firsthand how easy it is to both be the one who passes by, but I know how worthwhile it is when you're the one who stops and you deal with the situation. I guarantee you it will bring you more life than you've ever realized, and you'll find your purpose whenever you start doing that. And God will bless you and prosper you by doing that.
Amen.
But if you keep passing by, and if we won't be the ones to do that, but if you keep passing by, God can't bless you, and He can't prosper you, and you can't get to where you need to go if you're not pulling people up with you on the way.
Amen.
Amen.
Good, good.
Was that awesome?
Amen. We don't just want to be a place together. We want to be a place that's going to touch everybody. Amen. Amen. Ashley, thank you. That was amazing. Some of that stuff when she started talking about how things got started was pretty amazing. Here it is, 2004, 17, 13 years later. God's good. Thank you. Thank you for hearing and obeying. So I think the bottom line is hear and obey. Whoever God puts in your path, do what? Love them. Don't judge them. Just love them. Doesn't matter if it's the mayor or the millionaire or if it's somebody that smells bad. One of the most rewarding times of my life was when we didn't tell somebody to leave that smelled bad. He's not around now to be with us, but he'll always be a part of us and always be in our hearts. So I'm not going to add to that message. It was awesome. Ashley, thank you. This is going to conclude that series of connection. Did you get something out of it? Listen, you've got to be connected.